Robert believed his marriage to Patricia was forever. 2 kids, a cozy home in the Chicago suburbs, shared dreams. But one evening, she suggested something that shattered his world. How about a swinger party? Her words hit like a lightning strike. Was this a fleeting whim or a secret she had been hiding for years? Robert had no idea that a shocking revelation awaited him, one that would change everything. Robert's life felt like a dream he never wanted to wake from. At 35, he had built something solid, a tech manager job that paid well, 2 kids who filled his days with laughter, and a marriage to Patricia, his partner of 8 years. Their home in a quiet Chicago suburb was where he felt most at peace, especially on evenings like this one, where the sound of his daughter Emma, 7, and son Liam, 4, echoed through the house as they built a pillow fort in the living room. Robert knelt beside them, helping stack cushions into wobbly walls, grinning as Emma bossed him around with the confidence of a general. "No, Daddy, that one goes there," she insisted, pointing to a corner of their masterpiece. Patricia, 33, sat cross-legged on the floor nearby, her laptop open as she tweaked a graphic design project. She'd always been the creative one, her freelance work bringing a spark of color to their otherwise predictable routine. Robert caught her eye, and she flashed him a quick smile, the kind that used to make his heart skip when they first met in college. "You're going to lose your engineering license if this fort collapses," she teased, her voice light. He chuckled, tossing a throw pillow her way, which she dodged with a laugh. Moments like these, messy, loud, and full of love, were what Robert lived for. He believed their life was unshakable, built on trust, shared dreams, and a commitment he thought ran both ways. After the kids were tucked in, Robert sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone for the next day's work schedule. Patricia closed her laptop and joined him, sitting closer than usual. The air felt different, heavier, though he couldn't place why. "Hey, Rob," she started, her tone casual but deliberate. "Can we talk about something?" He set his phone down, expecting a conversation about weekend plans or maybe a school event for the kids. "Sure, what's up?" he asked, turning to face her. She leaned back, her fingers tapping lightly on her knee, a nervous habit he hadn't seen in years. "What do you think about trying something new? Like a swingers party?" The words hit like a punch he didn't see coming. Robert blinked, his brain scrambling to process. "A what?" he asked, hoping he'd misheard. Patricia's lips curved into a small, almost playful smile. "A swingers party. You know, where couples explore. It could be fun, something to shake things up." The room seemed to shrink around him. Fun? The word felt alien, wrong, like it didn't belong in their marriage. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, searching her face for a sign she was joking. But her eyes were steady, expectant, as if she'd just suggested trying a new restaurant. "You're serious?" he asked, his voice tighter than he meant it to be. Patricia nodded, her enthusiasm growing. "Yeah, why not? Lots of couples do it. It's just a way to break the routine, you know? We've been together so long." Routine. The word stung. To Robert, their routine was the heartbeat of their life. School drop-offs, movie nights, stolen kisses when the kids weren't looking. But to Patricia, it was something to escape. He took a deep breath, fighting the churn in his stomach. "You're saying you want to be with other people? In front of me?" She shrugged, unfazed. "It's not like that. It's not cheating if we both agree. It's just an experience." The ease in her voice unnerved him more than the suggestion itself. This wasn't the Patricia he knew, the one who'd cried with him when Liam was born, who'd stayed up late planning their 10th anniversary trip. "Pat, this isn't us," he said, his tone firm but pleading. "Why would you even think of this?" She sighed, rolling her eyes slightly, as if he were the one being unreasonable. "Rob, you're so traditional sometimes. I just thought we could try something bold. It doesn't mean I love you less." He stared at her, the woman he thought he knew better than anyone, and felt a crack form in the foundation of their marriage. "I'm not doing it," he said flatly. Patricia crossed her arms, her expression shifting to mild frustration. "You don't have to decide now. Just think about it, okay?" She stood, brushing past him to head to the kitchen, as if the conversation was no heavier than choosing a paint color for the walls. Robert stayed on the couch, his mind racing. This wasn't a whim. Something was off, and he couldn't shake the feeling that Patricia was already steps ahead of him. The next few days were a blur. Robert threw himself into work and the kids, tried to push the conversation out of his mind. But it clung to him, a shadow he couldn't escape. Patricia acted like nothing had changed, making breakfast, joking with Emma about her soccer game, kissing him goodbye before heading to a client meeting. But her casualness felt like a mask. Robert started noticing things. Her phone was always face down now, her meetings ran late, and she'd changed the subject when he asked about her day. Late one night, unable to sleep, Robert grabbed his laptop. They shared a cloud account for bills and streaming services, a small detail he'd never thought twice about. On impulse, he opened it, scrolling through emails. Most were mundane, utility bills, kids' school newsletters, until one caught his eye. It was from an address he didn't recognize, sent the previous night. The subject, event confirmation. His heart sank as he clicked it open. "Thanks for RSVPing to our exclusive couples night," it read, followed by details about a private venue in the city. The date was tomorrow. Patricia had confirmed her attendance before their talk. His hands shook as he clicked through more emails, finding a trail of messages from the same group, some dating back weeks. She wasn't just curious, she was already involved. Robert closed the laptop, his chest tight. The woman he loved, the mother of his children, had been planning this behind his back. He didn't know what hurt more, the betrayal itself or the fact that she thought he'd go along with it. One thing was clear. Patricia wasn't who he thought she was, and he needed to find out how deep this went before it tore their family apart. Robert's world felt like it was tilting off its axis, but he forced himself to keep moving. The discovery of Patricia's secret emails had cracked open a door he couldn't close. He went through the motions, dropping Emma and Liam at school, leading meetings at work, but his mind was elsewhere, replaying that event confirmation email. Patricia had RSVP'd to a swingers party without a word to him, and the betrayal cut deeper with every passing hour. He needed answers, but confronting her without more proof felt like walking into a trap. She'd always been quick to deflect, to turn his questions back on him. This time, he wouldn't let her. At work, Robert sat through a team call, barely hearing his colleagues' updates. His phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. "Late meeting tonight, don't wait up." His jaw tightened. Another meeting. He believed her excuses before, client deadlines, networking events, but now they sounded hollow. He replied with a curt, "Okay," his fingers hovering over the keyboard as he debated saying more. Instead, he opened his laptop and dug deeper into their shared cloud account. The emails were just the start. He found a folder labeled Work Docs, but inside were screenshots of private messages from a forum he didn't recognize. Phrases like "can't wait for Saturday" and "my husband's still clueless" stared back at him. His stomach churned. Patricia wasn't just planning one night. She was already part of this world. Robert's first instinct was to call her out, to demand an explanation, but he stopped himself. She'd downplay it, maybe even lie. He needed undeniable evidence, something she couldn't twist. That evening, while the kids watched cartoons, he downloaded a tracking app on his phone, syncing it to Patricia's device through their shared account. It felt wrong, invasive, but trust had already been broken. The app pinged her location at a downtown coffee shop, not a client's office. He stared at the blinking, his heart racing. Was she meeting someone now? Planning the next step? He couldn't confront her yet, not without knowing the full scope. The next day, Patricia brought up the swingers party again, her tone as casual as if she were suggesting a movie. They were in the kitchen, the kids upstairs doing homework. "So, Rob, have you thought about what I said?" she asked, stirring sugar into her coffee. Robert froze, his hand gripping the counter. "You mean the party?" he said, keeping his voice even. She nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. "Yeah, I really think it could be good for us. Spice things up, you know?" He forced a neutral expression, though his pulse hammered. "You're sure about this?" he asked, probing. She leaned against the counter, unfazed. "It's not a big deal. Couples do it all the time. It's about being open, honest." The irony of her words hit hard. Honest? She'd been hiding this for weeks, maybe longer. "I'm not there yet," he said carefully, watching her reaction. She sighed, a flicker of impatience crossing her face. "Fine, just don't take forever to decide. Life's too short to play it safe." She grabbed her keys and left for another meeting, leaving Robert with a sinking feeling. That night, he checked the tracking app again. Patricia's location showed her at a bar in the city, far from any client office. He cross-referenced the address with the event details from the email. It wasn't the party venue, but it was close, too close. Robert's mind raced. Was she scoping out the scene? Meeting someone involved? He couldn't just sit there, against his better judgment. He called a neighbor to watch the kids and drove downtown. The bar was upscale, all glass and dim lights, packed with people. He spotted Patricia at a corner table, laughing with a man he didn't recognize. They weren't touching, but their ease with each other, the way she leaned in, her smile unguarded, felt like a blade twisting in his chest. Robert stayed out of sight, his phone recording a short clip through the window. It wasn't much, but it was something. He drove home, his thoughts a storm of anger and disbelief. Back in his office, he dug into the forum screenshots again, finding a thread where Patricia had commented, "First time was a rush. Can't wait to go bigger this weekend." First time. The words burned. This wasn't a new idea. She'd already crossed lines he didn't know existed. The party she'd invited him to wasn't her entry point. It was her attempt to pull him into a life she was already living. He leaned back in his chair, his resolve hardening. Confronting her now would only give her a chance to spin the story. Instead, he spent the next hour backing up every email, screenshot, and location log to an external drive. He contacted a divorce lawyer, scheduling a consultation for the next morning. The kids were asleep, unaware of the fracture splitting their family apart. Robert's chest ached at the thought of them caught in the fallout, but he couldn't let Patricia's choices destroy their stability. She'd made her decision long before that first conversation, and now he had to make his. As he closed his laptop, his phone buzzed. Another text from Patricia. "Home soon. Missed you." The words felt like a mockery. He didn't respond. Tomorrow, he'd follow her to the party venue. He'd see it for himself, not to save their marriage, but to protect what was left of his family. The truth was out there, and Robert was done being the last to know. Robert's hands gripped the steering wheel as he drove through the Chicago suburbs, the city lights fading into the distance. It was Saturday night, the night of the swingers party Patricia had RSVP'd 2 weeks ago. The tracking app on his phone showed her location moving toward a private venue, a sleek, modern club tucked away in an industrial part town. Robert's stomach churned, not with anger, but with a cold determination. He wasn't chasing her to beg or argue. He needed proof, something undeniable to protect his kids and himself. The evidence he'd gathered, emails, forum posts, location logs, was damning, but seeing it firsthand would seal the truth. He'd arranged for his sister to watch Emma and Liam, telling her only that he had a late work meeting. The lie stung, but he couldn't let anyone else into this mess yet. As he parked a block from the venue, his phone pinged with another text from Patricia, "Stuck at work, home late." The casual deception fueled his resolve. He stepped out into the cool night air, pulling his hoodie up to blend into the shadows. The club's entrance was discreet, marked only by a black door and a bouncer checking names on a tablet. Robert stayed across the street, his phone ready to record. Through the app, he watched Patricia's dust settle at the venue. Minutes later, he saw her slip out of a rideshare car, her stride confident as she approached the door. She exchanged a few words with the bouncer, flashed a smile, and disappeared inside. Robert's chest tightened, but he forced himself to stay focused. He circled the building, finding a side alley with a view of a large window. The glass was tinted, but he could make out shapes moving inside, people laughing, dancing closer than strangers should be. His phone's zoom lens caught Patricia's silhouette, unmistakable, as she leaned into a conversation with a man, their heads close, her hand brushing his arm. The sight hit harder than he expected, but Robert kept recording, capturing every second. He wasn't sure what he'd do with the footage yet. Hand it to his lawyer, maybe, but it was leverage, proof she couldn't deny. He stayed for 20 minutes, long enough to confirm she wasn't there by mistake. As he drove home, his mind raced. The emails had hinted at prior events, but seeing her there, so at ease in a world he couldn't fathom, made it real. Patricia wasn't just testing boundaries. She'd already crossed them, long before she'd invited him to join. Back home, Robert sat in his office, the kids asleep upstairs. He uploaded the video to his encrypted drive, adding it to the growing file of evidence. His lawyer had already warned him that custody battles could get ugly, and he needed every advantage. He opened the forum screenshots again, diving deeper into Patricia's posts. One stood out, dated a month ago. "He's not ready yet, but I'm going anyway. Life's too short to wait." The words burned. She hadn't just betrayed him. She planned to keep him in the dark, to live a double life while he played the oblivious husband. The next morning, Patricia acted like nothing had happened. She was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes for the kids, humming as if the world hadn't shifted. "Morning, Rob," she said brightly. sliding a plate in front of him. "Sleep okay?" He stared at her, searching for a hint of guilt, but found none. "Fine," he muttered, his voice flat. Emma and Liam chattered about their weekend plans, oblivious to the tension. Robert forced a smile for their sake, but his mind was elsewhere. He'd meet his lawyer that afternoon to finalize the divorce filing. Every lie Patricia told pushed him closer to that decision. At lunch, she brought up the party again, this time with a calculated edge. "So, Rob, about that idea I mentioned," she said, keeping her tone light as she wiped syrup off Liam's chin. "I really think you should come with me next time. It's not what you think, just fun, no strings." Robert's grip tightened on his fork. She was testing him, trying to pull him into her world to justify her choices. "I said no," he replied, his voice low but firm. "This isn't up for debate." Patricia's smile faltered, but she shrugged. "Your loss. I'm just trying to keep things exciting." Her dismissal ignited something in him. "Exciting," he said, keeping his voice steady so the kids wouldn't notice. "You think lying about where you are is exciting?" Her eyes widened for a split second, but she recovered quickly. "What's that supposed to mean?" she asked, her tone sharp. Robert didn't take the bait. "We'll talk later," he said, glancing at the kids. She nodded, but the air between them crackled with unspoken accusations. That afternoon, Robert met his lawyer in a quiet office downtown. He laid out everything: emails, screenshots, the video from the club. The lawyer, a sharp woman with a no-nonsense demeanor, nodded as she reviewed the evidence. "This is strong," she said. "Infidelity, especially with this level of deception, will weigh heavily in court, especially for custody. Illinois prioritizes stability for the kids." Robert exhaled, relief mixing with dread. "I just want to protect them," he said. "I know," she replied. "We'll file Monday." Be ready for her to push back. That night, Patricia came home late again, her keys jangling as she slipped through the door. Robert was waiting on the couch, his laptop closed, but the evidence burning in his mind. "Late meeting?" he asked, his tone neutral but laced with intent. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, client stuff. You know how it is." He let the silence hang, watching her shift uncomfortably. "We need to talk," he said finally. "Tomorrow, after the kids are in bed." Her eyes searched his, sensing the shift, but she nodded. "Sure, Rob. Whatever you want." As she walked upstairs, Robert felt the weight of what was coming. Tomorrow, he'd confront her with the truth, not to save their marriage, but to end it on his terms. He'd spent years believing in their love, but Patricia had chosen a different path. Now, he'd protect his kids and himself, no matter what it took. Robert sat on the couch, the house quiet except for the faint hum of the dishwasher. The kids were asleep, their laughter from earlier that day a distant memory. His laptop rested on the coffee table, the encrypted drive containing Patricia's emails, forum posts, and a video from the club plugged in and ready. He'd spent the day preparing for this moment, his lawyer's advice echoing in his mind. Stay calm, stick to the facts, don't let her twist the narrative. Tonight, there'd be no more lies. Patricia walked in, tossing her keys onto the counter with her usual nonchalance. "So, what's this big talk about?" she asked, sitting across from him, her tone light but guarded. Robert didn't waste time. "I know where you were last night," he said, his voice steady. Patricia's smile froze, but she recovered quickly, tilting her head. "Work, like I said." "Why?" He opened his laptop, pulling up the video from a club. Her silhouette, laughing with a stranger, filled the screen. "This isn't work," he said, hitting play. The audio was faint, but her voice was unmistakable, joking about trying something new. Patricia's eyes widened, her hand twitching as if to grab the laptop, but she stopped herself. "Where did you get that?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "From you," Robert said, clicking to the email screenshots. "Your cloud account, the one we share. You confirmed that party weeks ago, before you even mentioned it to me." He scrolled through her forum posts, each one a knife to his chest. "You've been doing this for months. First time was a rush," you wrote. "You lied to me, Pat. Every day." Her face paled, but she leaned forward, defiant. "You're spying on me? That's low, Rob. I was going to tell you everything." "When?" He cut in, his voice rising despite his effort to stay calm. "After you dragged me into it? Or after you got bored of sneaking around?" Patricia crossed her arms, her jaw tight. "You're blowing this out of proportion. It's just fun, Rob. It doesn't change us. I'm still here, aren't I?" The words hit like a slap. "Here," he said, incredulous. "You're not here. You're living a double life, and you thought I'd just go along with it." She stood, pacing, her voice rising too. You're so close-minded. Couples do this to stay exciting, to keep things alive. I thought you'd at least try to understand. Robert shook his head, his resolve hardening. This isn't about being exciting. It's about trust. You broke it, and you don't even care. He pulled up the divorce papers he'd drafted with his lawyer, sliding the laptop toward her. I'm done, Pat. I filed for divorce this morning. I'm going for full custody of Emma and Liam. Patricia froze, her eyes locked on the screen. You're serious, she whispered, the defiance draining from her voice. You can't do this. They're my kids too. Robert stood, matching her intensity. You chose this. You chose strangers over our family. I won't let the kids grow up in a home where commitment means nothing. She stepped toward him, her voice breaking. Rob, please. I messed up, okay? We can fix this. I'll stop, I swear. He held up a hand, stopping her. You don't get to decide that now. You made your choice when you lied, when you went behind my back. He pointed to the laptop. It's all here, emails, posts, the video. The court will see it too. Patricia's hands trembled as she sank back into the chair, her eyes darting to the screen. You'd use that against me? She asked, her voice barely audible. You gave me no choice, he said. You thought you could have it all, your secret life and our family. That's not how this works. She tried one last defense, her voice desperate. I didn't cheat, Rob. I wanted us to do this together. I was honest about that. Robert let out a bitter laugh. Honest? You were already there, Pat. Months ago. You only told me to cover your tracks, to make it seem like we were in it together. He grabbed his phone, pulling up the tracking app's history. You were at that bar Thursday. Not a client meeting. You've been lying for a long time. Her silence was louder than any argument. She stared at the floor, her hands clenched. I want you out, Robert said, his voice final. Tonight. Stay at a hotel. Stay with a friend. I don't care. But you're not sleeping here. Patricia's head snapped up, tears welling in her eyes. You're kicking me out of my own house? She said, her voice cracking. It's not your house anymore, he replied. You threw it away. She stood, grabbing her keys, her movements frantic. This isn't over, Rob. You can't just erase me from their lives. He didn't flinch. You did that yourself. My lawyer will call you tomorrow. Patricia stormed out, the door slamming behind her. Robert sat back down, the silence heavy. His hands shook, but not from fear relief. The truth was out, and there was no going back. He texted his lawyer, confirming the filing, and backed up the confrontation's audio, recorded discreetly on his phone. Every step was calculated now, for the kids' sake. He climbed the stairs, checking on Emma and Liam, their peaceful breathing a reminder of why he was fighting. Tomorrow, he'd face the fallout, but tonight, he'd done what he had to. The courtroom was a blur of formalities, but Robert felt every second of it. The divorce proceedings had moved faster than he expected, fueled by the evidence he'd meticulously gathered. Emails, forum posts, location logs, and the damning video from the club. Patricia sat across the room, her posture stiff, her eyes avoiding his. The judge's voice cut through the tension, outlining the terms. Robert was granted full custody of Emma and Liam, with Patricia allowed supervised visits pending her compliance with court conditions. The gavel fell, and just like that, their 8-year marriage was over. Robert exhaled, the weight of months of betrayal lifting, replaced by a quiet resolve to rebuild. Patricia had fought back, but her defense crumbled under the evidence. In court, she tried to paint herself as a misunderstood wife seeking to spice up their marriage, claiming Robert overreacted. But the judge wasn't swayed by her tears or her pleas. The forum posts, where she bragged about her secret outings, and the video of her at the swingers' party were undeniable. Her lawyer argued she was still a good mother, but the court prioritized the kids' stability. Robert's steady job, clean record, and commitment to their well-being tipped the scales. As he left the courthouse, he felt no victory, only relief. The kids were safe, and that was all that mattered. Weeks later, Robert moved with Emma and Liam to a new house in a neighboring Chicago suburb. The fresh start was deliberate, a clean break from the memories tied to their old home. The kids adapted quickly, their laughter filling the new backyard as they kicked a soccer ball around. Robert watched from the porch, his heart lighter than it had been in months. The pain of Patricia's betrayal still lingered, but it was no longer a raw wound. He'd started therapy, not to dwell on the past, but to navigate being a single dad. Emma and Liam were thriving, their routines steady, their smiles genuine. That was enough. Patricia, meanwhile, struggled. She'd moved into a small apartment downtown, her freelance work barely covering rent. Her supervised visits with the kids were strained. She'd try to joke with them, but Emma's guarded answers and Liam's clinginess to Robert spoke volumes. The court had mandated counseling for her, a condition for maintaining visitation rights. Robert heard through mutual friends that she'd stopped going to the parties, but he didn't care. Her choices were no longer his burden. One Sunday afternoon, as Robert pushed Liam on a swing at a local park, a familiar voice broke his thoughts. It was Mark, a neighbor from their old street, pushing his own kid on the next swing. They exchanged small talk, but Mark's tone shifted, hesitant. "Hey, Rob, there's something I've been meaning to tell you," he said, glancing around. "About Patricia." Robert's stomach tightened, but he nodded. "Go on." Mark lowered his voice. "That party you found out about? It wasn't her first. I saw her car at that club a few times last year, late at night. I didn't know what it was then, but after your divorce hit the neighborhood gossip, it clicked." Robert's jaw clenched, but he wasn't surprised. The emails and forum posts had hinted at a longer history, but hearing it confirmed still stung. "How often?" he asked, keeping his voice even. Mark shrugged, uncomfortable. "Maybe once a month, sometimes more. Always when you were at work or out of town. I thought she was just meeting friends." Robert nodded, his eyes on Liam, who was giggling as he swung higher. "Thanks for telling me," he said quietly. Mark hesitated, then added, "You did the right thing, man. For you and the kids." The revelation didn't spark anger, as it might have months ago. Instead, it brought clarity. Patricia's betrayal wasn't a moment of weakness or a spontaneous thrill. It was a calculated choice, sustained over time. The parties, the lies, the double life. She'd built it all while he believed in their marriage. Knowing this didn't reopen the wound, it closed it. He'd made the right call, not just for himself, but for Emma and Liam, who deserved a home where trust wasn't a game. That evening, Robert sat with the kids at their new kitchen table, helping Emma with her math homework while Liam colored nearby. The normalcy of it grounded him. He'd started rebuilding, not just his life, but his ability to trust. He'd joined a local parents group, finding camaraderie with others navigating single parenthood. He wasn't ready to date, but he was open to the idea someday, a thought that once seemed impossible. Patricia sent occasional texts, pleading for forgiveness or asking to see the kids outside court rules. Robert forwarded them to his lawyer, keeping boundaries firm. He didn't hate her. He pitied her, alone with the consequences of her choices. The moral wasn't revenge. It was accountability. She'd gambled their family for fleeting thrills and lost. Robert, meanwhile, found strength in protecting what mattered most. As he tucked the kids into bed, Emma hugged him tightly. "Love you, Daddy," she said. "Love you too," he replied, kissing her forehead. For the first time in months, he felt whole.